ChatGPT said, have you ever had the kind of day where you're just settling into your own backyard, a place you've worked your fingers to the bone for, a little patch of earth that's all yours, and then out of nowhere, some complete strangers come marching in like they own the joint? Not even a hint of manners, not so much as a may we. Just a flat out, you need to clear out. We're here to use the barbecue. My family's hungry. I wish I was making this up. But yeah, that happened. Let me back up a sec. It was one of those perfect Saturdays, the kind that makes you remember why you love having a backyard in the first place. The sun was shining, birds doing their thing, and I was just easing into my favorite chair, the one molded to my back after years of loyal service. A cold glass of lemonade, grill warming up, ribs marinated for 2 days straight. I'm talking peace on earth, right? Then, out of the blue, here she comes. A woman with hair so stiff it looked wind tunnel tested, floral blouse, hands on her hips like she was leading a military operation, dragging along a defeated-looking man and a kid in a superhero shirt. She stops 10 feet from me and just announces, "All right, you need to clear out. We're here to use the barbecue." No question. No, please. Just like that. For a second, I figured I'd dozed off and was dreaming. Maybe the heat got to me. I took a slow sip of lemonade, looked around. Nope, still my backyard, still my ribs, still my grill. So I kept my voice level, told her as calmly as I could, "Ma'am, with all due respect, this is my backyard. That's my grill. These are my ribs." She puffs up, her face getting tighter than her blouse, and says, "Don't get smart with me, young man. This is a neighborhood amenity. We pay our dues." Now, here's the thing. There aren't any neighborhood dues in this area. Not a one. Why? Because I own most of these houses and lots myself. I spent years picking up properties, fixing up this community, making it a place people actually wanted to live in. But this lady? She's not interested in facts. She's got her own alternate reality. She leans in closer, dropping her voice like she's about to share a secret. "I don't know how things usually work for people like you, but in this neighborhood we share. People like you shouldn't have things this nice if you're not going to be considerate of others. You know what I mean?" That's the kind of line that makes you see red, but I kept my cool. My patience is legendary, up to a point. She finally huffs and declares she's going to speak to the manager. Bless her heart, she had no idea she just tried to get the manager kicked out of his own backyard. She storms off, trailing her sad sack husband and embarrassed kid. I went back to my grill, ribs sizzling, thinking, some folks just have to dig their own holes, and boy, was she working on a crater point. 20 minutes later, she's back, this time with a pile of freshly printed papers, waving them like a sword. "I've consulted the neighborhood covenants, and you, sir, are in clear violation." I almost laughed. She'd printed out some random bylaws, none of which applied here. There's no HOA, no communal grilling area, just me, my property, and a whole lot of peace she was trying to shatter. I explained this as politely as I could, but she wasn't hearing it. She doubled down. "You own it? You expect me to believe that? A young man like you." The old song. Heard it 1,000 times, but it never gets less annoying. Here's the thing. I didn't come from money. Everything I have, I built. Fixed up houses, worked nights, ran a business out of a cramped apartment, bought up the block when everyone else saw blight. It was about building community, not just building wealth. So when someone questions whether I belong, especially someone waving around fake authority, it's not just offensive. It's erasing everything I've fought for. I told her, as smooth as you please. "Yes, ma'am. I own every square inch, the grass, the fence, the house, the grill. I'd appreciate being able to enjoy my Saturday on my own property." Her face went through more phases than the moon: shock, disbelief, outrage, but she couldn't shake the fact that she was flat out wrong. Still, she muttered threats and stalked off, muttering about uppity people. But here's where it gets fun. She didn't quit. The next week, I found anonymous notes under my door about lawn standards for my lawn, which looks like it belongs on the cover of a gardening magazine. Next, it was my garbage cans. Then, the sideways looks, the whispered gossip with other neighbors. She even called the cops on me for loitering in my own driveway, washing my car. You know what I mean? But the officers knew me, they'd wave and keep driving. Meanwhile, Her husband and kid looked more miserable every time she dragged them along for the next crusade. I realized she wasn't just entitled, she needed to control something. A little digging around, and I learned she used to run a tiny condo HOA like a dictator, got ousted, and now she was trying to rule over us with the same iron fist, except here, there was no HOA, no rules but city ordinances and basic respect. She just couldn't stand not being in charge, especially not of someone like me. So I changed tactics. If she wanted to play games, I'd play too. I hired a landscaping crew, made my yard a masterpiece, added garden gnomes facing her house, each one looking like they were silently judging her. I greeted her in public with exaggerated politeness, always just loud enough for bystanders to hear. "Agnes, so good to see you. Need help reaching anything up high?" It drove her nuts. She'd sputter and storm away, the crowd barely hiding their grins. Whenever she tried to educate the neighbors about violations, I'd politely correct her with facts and city ordinances, always just nearby, always calm. The more she tried to assert authority, the more obvious it became she had none. People started coming to me for advice, not her. Her power, if she ever had any, just evaporated. Then I took it up a notch. Hired a surveyor to mark the exact property lines. Turns out, her prized rose bushes and recycling bin were on my land. Sent her a polite, legal letter. "Please remove the encroachments. Thanks." Arthur, poor guy, had to prune the roses himself. From then on, their trash bins were lined up with comic precision. She couldn't complain. It was all perfectly by the book. Then I pulled every permit for every home improvement, had city inspectors over for everything. When she tried to get them to cite me for violations, they'd compliment my compliance in public. Watching her stew was better than any TV drama, but I didn't just want to win. I wanted to lift the whole community. So I started a community garden on a vacant lot I owned, invited everyone to join, offered supplies, watched neighbors bond and kids learn to plant tomatoes. Agnes showed up, demanded a leadership role, and I offered her the shadiest, smallest patch. She declined, of course. The garden thrived without her. Kids laughed. Old folks swapped stories. Agnes was sidelined, and everyone could see it. The final act? A neighborhood appreciation day, barbecue, music, kids playing, dignitaries in attendance. I unveiled a giant map showing the properties owned and maintained by yours truly, nearly the whole neighborhood. For this special resident who loved grills so much, I set up a tiny, rusty hibachi near the trash bins with a sign, "Agnes Perwinkle's official grilling station and complaint department," by appointment with actual property owner. The crowd howled. Even the city councilwoman and police captain were grinning. Agnes went purple with rage. Her husband practically dragged her home. The spell was broken. After that, the notes stopped. The whispers ended. Agnes became a ghost, then moved away a few months later, never said goodbye. The garden flourished, the neighborhood grew closer, and every time I grilled ribs in peace, I'd remember that sometimes the best way to beat the darkness is to shine a light so bright no one can deny the truth. You can fight for your dignity with patience and cleverness, never stooping to their level, but never letting them push you out. So tell me, was that the right way to handle it? Did justice get served in the end? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and while you're at it, share where you're watching from. Thanks for sticking around for my story. Remember, don't ever let anyone kick you off your own grill. Stay strong, stay neighborly, and take care.